Hello, what's up YouTube? Bro is with another tutorial, and this is going to be like a quick one. And if at all you haven't hit the like button on this video, make sure that you hit the like button so that you don't miss out on the best content that is yet to come on this channel. So a moment so that you can hit the like button on this video. And when you're done, let's kick in and we start learning about how to color grade your images using the camera raw filter. So usually I do my color grading in Capture One, and most of you people, I found out that most of you guys haven't tried out Capture One, or you don't have the money to purchase or pay for a Capture One license. So I'll show you guys how you can do this in maybe your Lightroom or the camera raw filter in Photoshop. So this is the image that we have, or we are going to be working with, and we want to color grade this image from looking like this to looking like this. So you can see how nice and simple this is going to be in just the camera raw filter. And those who always ask about my camera settings, this is the raw file, and I shot it using at ISO 200 at using a 70-200mm lens f2.8, and I shot it at 85mm, and the f-stop was f5, and the shutter speed was 320th of a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come and I reset everything so that we can learn everything from the very start. So I'm just going to reset to default so that we can learn everything from the start. So usually, if at all you shoot in RAW, this is going to be like a more added advantage because you have a lot of colors to deal with or enough details to work with in your images. So usually when I'm working on the raw files, I start from the highlights to regain back the detail in the blown out highlights, just like that, and I do the same for my whites, just a little bit. And after doing all that, I add contrast to the image. So this is more like processing my raw file to look good. And one little reminder for you guys, every single time you're color grading your images, make sure that you have a calibrated monitor or screen that is going to show you guys the accurate colors so that you don't get everything wrong when you're doing the color grading. So make sure that you have the monitor that is going to display you the right colors or accurate colors, because you don't want to run into those problems whereby the image is looking different in your computer and on your phone it is looking a little bit way different. So after adding some contrast into the image, I come to the blacks and I punch in or push in the blacks to get more contrast, but this adds or introduces shadows into the image. So I just come and I open up the shadows just a little bit to around 23, and I could just pump up the exposure slightly, and right now the image has that nice and rich contrast. So I tend to add clarity into the image to around, I go with around 5. Then the next thing I prefer to do is coming under the vibrance, and under vibrance I simply knock this down slightly to around -4, and I think that looks good. So let's see before and after so far. This was the image before and this is the after. So our after is really having that nice and rich contrast that we are looking for in this image. So after doing that, the next, or where the magic is going to take place, is going to be in the HSL panel. So HSL is more of hue, saturation, and luminance. That's why you have hue, saturation, and luminance. And hue is more of maybe the opposite of a given color. That's what I can define it. I don't know the right definition. And saturation is more of the intensity, and luminance is more of the lightness or darkness of a given color. So where I usually start from is under the hues, and what I do in this option, I simply hue the reds because I'm dealing with skin tone. So I'm just going to hue the reds and I take it all the way up. Just I think at around 40 we are good to go, and you can see skin tone is now looking a little bit more even. Then what I do next is coming to the oranges and I simply turn the hues up a little bit more. So let's see the before and the after so far. The skin tone is now looking a little bit even, and we don't have those red spots that were in the skin. And the next thing I do is coming to the luminance, and under luminance I tend to push this down just a little bit so that the skin tone can really be good enough. So you can see the skin tone is now looking solid or unique. And after doing this, the next thing I'm going to do, under saturation, I tend not to handle anything under the saturation slider regarding skin tone. But if at all you have any other color that you want to remove out of your image, you can play around with the saturation slider. But usually I only leave these the way they are under saturation. And those that looked at this image when I posted it, you notice that I had some kind of greens in my highlights in this image. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to simply turn this up, the saturation. So under highlights or under split toning, I'm just going to turn this up. Then I move the hue towards, just going to add that kind of green filter into my image, just like that. And I think that is how the image was looking, but I feel like the saturation or the intensity of that effect is too much. So I'm just going to come and I reduce on the saturation, just like that. I think at 11 we are good to go. And now where the next thing, or what I did next, was coming to the calibration option in the camera raw filter. So under calibration we have different colors. We have red primary, green primary, and blue primary. So under this calibration slider, what we are going to do basically is coming first of all to the red primary and simply reducing on the saturation in the red primary. I think -6 is fine. Then you're going to come to the green primary and also slightly reduce on the saturation of the green primary. -3 is fine. And simply move the hue of the green slightly up. So I'm just going to leave it at around 7 is fine. And come to the blue primary and simply move up this up to around 4. 4 is good. You can see that we now have even skin tone in this image, so you can see a before and after, before and after. So after doing all this, I'm just going to come back up to where it says the HSL panel, and under HSL panel I'm just going to intensify specific colors. For example, my hues, I feel like the image is a little bit more of the yellow. I'm just going to move the hue towards the red side. So as I'm moving this, you can notice that it is going to be introducing reds into the image. And I'm just going to move this a little bit more to around 40, 48 or 40, let's go with 45. So let's see the overall before and after for the color grading of the skin tones of this model. So this is the before and after. Before, after, you can see this, our after really has uniform skin tones. Let me just zoom in so that you guys can see everything. So I want you guys to look at this specific area right here. So when I turn this off, you can see that we had uneven skin tones. We had magentas, a little bit of reds, and we have some yellows right here. Then we have a little bit of oranges, but in our after, I hope you can see that everything tried to blend in into the image. So basically this is how I would do the color grading in the camera raw filter for these particular images. And if at all you wish, you can go ahead and do some little bit of eye and teeth whitening, and this is going to transform your image to a whole new level. So just zoom in and come and get your adjustment brush tool and simply reduce on the temperature to around, take it towards the blue side to around 19, and do the same for the tint to around 50. Let's go with around 50, and come and desaturate the rest of the colors up to around -67, and simply paint over the white area of the eye to whiten it. And this is going to really transform your images to a whole new level. So just come and paint over the white area. So you only have to paint over what you feel should be white in your images. And when you're done doing all that, you can now open your image into Photoshop to do the skin retouching and other adjustments like blemish remover, and finally save your images. And if at all you have learned something from this video, don't forget to like it and don't forget to subscribe this channel. If at all you have been watching from this channel for the very first time, Ronix from Ronix Photography, thank you for watching and see you in yet more tutorials. And don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.